Hello, my name is Jiso and I'm reading Master Dōgen's Shōbōgenzō. And we have reached chapter 26 of the Nishijima Cross edition, Daigo, Great Realization. Dai means great and go means realization, so Daigo means great realization. Many Buddhist scholars, for example, Dr. Daisetsu Suzuki, have translated go as enlightenment, but the meaning of the word enlightenment is ambiguous, and the word has for many years been a stumbling block to the understanding of Buddhism. So it may be better to translate go as realization. The meaning of realization in Master Dōgen's theory is also difficult to understand. Anyway, it is clear that realization is not only intellectual understanding, but a more concrete realization of facts in reality. So we can say that realization in Master Dōgen's theory is realization in real life. We can study his thoughts on realization in this chapter. Great. Let's get into it. The great truth of Buddhas, having been transmitted, is a continuous line of immediacy, and the meritorious conduct of patriarchs, having been revealed, is a level expanse. Therefore, to actualize great realization, to arrive at the truth without realizing it, to reflect on realization and to play with realization, and to forget realization and let go and act, these are just the everyday state of Buddhist patriarchs. Buddhist patriarchs experience utilization of the 12 hours in which they take things up, and they experience being used by the 12 hours in which they throw things away. Springing out further from this pivot point, they also experience playing with mud balls and playing with the soul. From their great realization onwards, Buddhist patriarchs inevitably master learning and practice that is actualized like this. At the same time, great realization, which is totally realization, is not seen as a Buddhist patriarch, and a Buddhist patriarch who is totally a Buddhist patriarch is not total great realization. A Buddhist patriarch springs out beyond the boundaries of great realization. And great realization is a face and eyes springing out in the state which is ascendant over Buddhist patriarchs. Still, human makings are of many kinds. Namely, there are the innately intelligent who, by living, penetrate and get free from life. This, in other words, whether at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of life, is a physical realization. There are people of learned intelligence who, through learning, master the state of themselves. In other words, they physically realize the skin, flesh, bones, and marrow of learning. They are people of the Buddha intelligence who are beyond innate intelligence and beyond learned intelligence, transcending the boundaries of self and others. They are limitless at this place and are free from the fetters of subjective or objective intelligence. There are people of the intelligence which has no teacher. They neither rely on good counselors nor rely on sutras. They neither rely on the nature nor rely on forms, and they neither deny nor change themselves nor convert others, but still they disclose a commanding presence. Of these several kinds, we do not see one kind as keen and see a second kind as dull. The many kinds actualize many corresponding kinds of meritorious conduct. Then what kind of being, sentient or non-sentient, could be capable of innate intelligence? We must study this in practice. When there is innate intelligence, there is innate realization, there is innate verification, and there is innate training. Thus, the Buddhist patriarch, though already the controller of men, has been praised as the man of innate realization. He is the life that brought realization into being. And so he is described like this. To become satisfied with the state of great realization may be called innate realization. It is to have learned to bring forth realization, and so it is described like this. This being so, we realize great realization by bringing forth the triple world, realize great realization by bringing forth the four elements, realize great realization by bringing forth the hundreds of weeds, realize great realization by bringing forth the Buddhist patriarchs, and realize great realization by bringing forth the universe. All these are instances of bringing forth great realization and thereby realizing afresh the state of great realization. The time which is just the moment of this realization is now. Great Master Isho of Rinzai-in Temple says, "If we search throughout the great kingdom of Tang for someone who does not realize, it is hard to find one person." What Great Master Isho expresses now as the authentically propagated skin, flesh, bones and marrow in which there can be no wrongness. Throughout the great kingdom of Tang means inside our own eye. It is not connected with the whole universe, and it's not stuck in lands of dust. If we search inside this concrete place for a person who does not realize, it is hard to find one. The self of yesterday, which is the subjective self, is not one who does not realize, and the self of today, which is the objective self, is not one who does not realize. If we search among mountain people and water people, past and present, looking for non-realization, we will never find it. Students who study Rinzai's words like this will not be passing time in vain. Even so, we should study further, in experience, what behavior the ancestral founder has in mind. In short, I would like to question Rinzai for the present. If you know only that someone who does not realize is hard to find, and do not know that someone who does realize is hard to find, that is never enough to be affirmed, and it is hard to say that you have fully understood that someone who does not realize is hard to find. If we look for someone who does not realize, it is hard to find one person. But have you ever, or have you never, met with half a person who is beyond realization, and whose face and eyes and easy bearing are imposing and majestic? If we search the great kingdom of Tang for someone who does not realize, it is hard to find one person. But do not think that having difficulty in finding is the ultimate state. We should try searching for 2 or 3 great kingdoms of Tang in one person or half a person. Is it difficult? Is it not difficult? When we are equipped with these eyes, we can be affirmed as Buddhist patriarchs who are experiencing satisfaction. Great Master Hochi of Kigonji Temple in Kaicho succeeded Tozan. His monk's name was Kyujo. On one occasion is asked by a monk, what is it like at the time when a person in the state of great realization returns the delusion? The master says, a broken mirror does not again reflect. Fallen blossoms cannot climb back onto the trees. The present question, while it is a question, is like preaching to the assembly, preaching not proclaimed except in the order of Keigon, and not possible for anyone except a rightful successor of Tozan to deliver. Truly this may be the squarely regulated order of a Buddhist patriarch who expresses satisfaction. A person in the state of great realization is not intrinsically in great realization and is not hoarding a great realization realized externally. It is not that in old age the person meets with a great realization already present in the public world. People of great realization do not forcibly drag it out of themselves, but they unfailingly realize great realization. We do not see not being deluded as great realization. Neither should we aim, in order to plant the seed of great realization, to become at the outset a deluded being. People of great realization still realize great realization, and people of great delusion still realize great realization. If there is a person in great realization, accordingly, there is a Buddha in great realization. There are earth, water, fire, wind, and air in great realization, and there are outdoor pillars and stone lanterns in great realization. Now we have inquired into a person in the state of great realization. The question, what is it like at the time when a person in the state of great realization returns to delusion, truly asks a question that deserves to be asked. And Kigon does not hate the question. He venerates the ancient ways of the forest orders. His conduct may be the meritorious conduct of a Buddhist patriarch. Let us consider for a while. Is the return to delusion of a person in the state of great realization completely the same as a person being in the unenlightened state? At the moment when a person in the state of realization returns to delusion, is that person taking great realization and making it into delusion? Does the person return to delusion by bringing delusion from a distant place and covering great realization? Or does the person in the state of great realization, while remaining a whole person and not breaking great realization, nevertheless partake in a return to delusion? Again, does the return to delusion of a person in the state of great realization describe as returning to delusion the bringing forth of a further instance of great realization? We must master these questions one by one. Alternatively, it is that great realization is one hand and returning to delusion is one hand. Alternatively, is it that great realization is one hand and returning to delusion is one hand? In any case, we should know that the ultimate conclusion of our study up to now is to hear that a person in the state of great realization experiences returning to delusion. We should know that there is great realization which makes returning to delusion a familiar experience. Thus, recognizing a bandit as a child does not define returning to delusion, and recognizing a child as a bandit does not define returning to delusion. Great realization may be to recognize a bandit as a bandit, and returning to delusion is to recognize a child as a child. We see great realization as a bit being added in the state of abundance. When a bit is taken away in the state of scarcity, there is returning to delusion. In sum, when we grope for and completely get a grip on someone who returns to delusion, we may encounter a person in the state of great realization. Is the self now returning to delusion? Is it beyond delusion? We must examine it in detail, bringing it here. This is to meet and experience the Buddhist patriarchs. I think I'm just going to keep going on this one. We're nearly there. The Master says, "A broken mirror does not again reflect. Fallen blossoms cannot climb back onto the trees." This preaching for the multitude expresses the very moment of a mirror being broken. That being so, to concern the mind with the time before the mirror is broken and thereupon to study the words broken mirror is not right. Some might understand that the point of the words now spoken by Kigon, "A broken mirror does not again reflect, fallen blossoms cannot climb back onto the trees," is to say that a person in the state of great realization does not again reflect, and to say that a person in the state of great realization cannot climb back onto the trees, to assert that a person in the state of great realization will never again return to delusion. But Kigon's point is beyond such study. If it were as people think, the monk's question would be asking, for example, how is the everyday life of a person in the state of great realization? And the reply to this would be something like, there are times of returning to delusion. This present episode is not like that. The monk is asking, what is it like at the time when a person in the state of great realization returns to delusion? Therefore, he is calling into question the very moment itself of returning to delusion. The actualization of an expression of the moment like this is a broken mirror does not again reflect. Fallen blossoms cannot climb back onto the trees. When fallen blossoms are just fallen blossoms, even if they are rising to the top of a 100-foot pole, they are still fallen blossoms. Because a broken mirror is a broken mirror just here and now, however many vivid situations it realizes, each similarly is a reflection that does not again reflect. Picking up the point that is expressed as a mirror being broken and is expressed as blossoms being fallen, we should grasp and experience the moment which is the time when a person in the state of great realization returns to delusion. In this moment, great realization is akin to having become Buddha, and returning to delusion is akin to the state of ordinary things. We should not study Kyugon's words as if they discussed such things as turning back into an ordinary being or traces depending on an origin. Others talk about breaking the great state of enlightenment and becoming an ordinary being. Here we do not say that great realization is broken, do not say that great realization is lost, and do not say that delusion comes. We should never let ourselves be like those others. Truly, great realization is limitless, and returning to delusion is limitless. There is no delusion that hinders great realization, but having brought forth 3 instances of great realization, we create half an instance of small delusion. In this situation, there are snow mountains realizing great realization for the sake of snow mountains. Trees and stones are realizing great realization, relying on trees and stones. The great realization of Buddhas is realizing great realization for the sake of living beings. And the great realization of living beings is greatly realizing the great realization of Buddhas. It cannot be related to before and behind. Great realization now is beyond self and beyond others. It does not come at the same time. It fills in ditches and fills up valleys. It does not go. At the same time, we keenly hate pursuit that follows an external object. Why is it so? Because we follow objects perfectly. Master Keicho Beiko has a monk ask Kaiozan, does even a person of the present moment rely upon realization or not? Kaiozan says, realization is not non-existent, but how can it help falling into the second consciousness? The monk reports this back to Beiko. Beiko profoundly affirms it. Sorry, that was loud. The present moment of which he speaks is the now of every person. Although instances of causing ourselves to think of the past, the present and the future occur in thousands and tens of thousands, even they are present moments are now. Even they are present moments are now. The state of each person is inevitably the present moment. Sometimes eyes have been described as the present moment, and sometimes nostrils have been described as the present moment. Do we rely upon realization or not? We must investigate these words quietly. We should replace our heart with them and replace our brain with them. Recent shavelings in the great kingdom of Sung say, to realize the truth is the original aim, and so saying, they vainly wait for realization. But they seem not to be illuminated by the brightness of the Buddhist patriarchs. Indolently, they disregard the need solely to comprehend and experience under a true good counselor. Even during the ancient Buddha's appearance in the world, they might not have attained salvation. The present words, do we rely upon realization or not, neither say that realization does not exist, nor says that it exists, nor say that it comes. They say, do we rely on it or not? They are akin to asserting that the realization of a person of the present moment somehow has already been realized. If we speak, for example, of attaining realization, it sounds as if realization did not used to exist. If we speak of realization having come, it sounds as if that realization used to exist elsewhere. If we speak of having become realization, it sounds as if realization has a beginning. We do not discuss it like this, and it is not like this. Even so, when we discuss what realization is like, we ask if we need to rely on realization. Thereupon, with regard to realization, Kaizen has said, what can it do about falling into the second consciousness? He is thus saying that the second consciousness also is realization. By the second consciousness, he seems to mean, I have become realization, or I have attained realization, or realization has come. He is saying that even I have become, and even it has come, our realization. So while regretting the fact of falling into the second consciousness, he seems to be denying that second consciousness exists. Second consciousness produced from realization at the same time may be taken to be true second consciousness. In that case, even if it is second consciousness, and even if it is consciousness divided into hundreds of thousands, it may be the state of realization. It is not true that for second consciousness to exist, it must be left over from previously existing primary consciousness. For example, while I was the I of yesterday as myself, yesterday I called the I of today a second person. We do not say that present realization was not there yesterday, neither has it begun now. We should grasp it in experience like this. In sum, heads of great realization are black, and heads of great realization are white. It does say at the bottom, black heads and white heads suggest heads of young people and old people. All people are in a state of great realization, whether we realize it or not. Shōbōgenzō Daigo preached to the assembly at Kannon Dori in Kosho Horinji Temple on the 28th day of the first lunar month of the third year of Ninji, 1244. Written and preached to a great gathering of human beings and gods during a stay at the old Kippo temple at Etsuo on the 27th day of the first lunar month in the second year of Kangen. Sorry, that's 1244. The third year of Ninji was 1242. I copied this on the 20th day of the third lunar month in the spring of the same second year of Kangen, while serving as the master's attendant in the inner sanctums of Kippo Temple in Etsuo, Ijo. That was a long one. Thank you for listening. Take care.